Eddie Muller here, welcoming you back to Noir Alley. One of the greatest pleasures for a hardcore movie fan is the discovery of a terrific film that has somehow slipped through the cracks. This was the case for me when, after years of watching, researching, and writing about film noir, I discovered a missing gem from 1951 called Tomorrow is Another Day, which is the film I've got for you today. With such a generic title, it's no wonder the film escaped critical reappraisal and viewers, which is too bad because this movie is filled with simple and stylish pleasures of the noir variety. Lovers on the Lam is a premise familiar to anyone who has seen You Only Live Once, or They Live by Night, or Gun Crazy, or Shockproof. In fact, Sam Fuller, the writer of Shockproof, could have sued Warner Brothers for plagiarism, since the last part of Tomorrow is Another Day seems lifted straight from his script, made 2 years earlier at Columbia. But I'll suggest there was simply something in the Hollywood air at this time, and give credited screenwriter Guy Endor the benefit of the doubt. Let's assume he conjured this all himself. The final draft is by Art Cohn, who in his sports writing days at the Oakland Tribune was a colleague of my father. In the late 40s, Cohn left the Fourth Estate to carve out a niche in movies, writing on projects as varied as Roberto Rossellini's Stromboli and the classic boxing film The Setup. To be honest, it's not the story that makes this film special. It's the stars and the director. Felix Feist was barely a household name in his own home, but he had a flair for directing volatile characters in confined spaces, which he had displayed in 2 earlier B films, The Devil Thumbs a Ride and The Threat, pictures that showed how creatively Feist could manipulate a minuscule budget. Warner Brothers had bigger plans for this picture, originally tailoring it for John Garfield, although the lead ended up being played by Steve Cochran. In the 40s, Cochran was mostly a sinister supporting hunk, playing swaggering studs in pictures like White Heat, The Damned Don't Cry, and Storm Warning, where he's a KKK goon who tries to rape Ginger Rogers. Not a move that typically gets you promoted to leading man status. But as a renegade outlaw in a movie called Highway 301, Cochran showed what Elvis Presley could have been if instead of learning to sing and play the guitar, he robbed banks for a living. That's why I call Cochran the Elvis of noir. Here he gives a deeper and more vulnerable performance than was usually called for in his tough guy roles. I'm pretty sure it's this performance that convinced Italian director Michelangelo Antonioni to cast Cochran in his 1957 drama Il Grido, another high point of the actor's career. Cochran's co-star in Tomorrow is Another Day, Ruth Roman, was clearly cut out for noir. Some of her earliest professional work was as a model for True Detective magazine. By 1950, she'd appeared in several major movies without playing a particularly memorable character. In this one, she gets the best role of her young career as flinty taxi dancer Kay Higgins, a hard-as-nails dame who gradually opens up to the possibility of kindness and affection. And she's a blonde, a first and only for Roman, as far as I know. Prior to this, she had made Strangers on a Train for Alfred Hitchcock. Also coming over from that picture is director of photography Robert Burks, whose facility with tricky camera setups and ability to integrate location footage with back projection is put to brilliant use in several exciting set pieces. You will never again see a car carrier on the road and not think of this film. You won't find anything particularly groundbreaking or revelatory in this movie. I think of it as a jazz standard you've heard hundreds of times, but then you're suddenly surprised to hear it played in a fresh and soulful way. You may have taken this trip before, but it's still a great ride. So let's follow this pair of sexy misfits as they go on the run in Tomorrow is Another Day.